There you go, Luther. Stay there. So I thought today would be a great time to talk about sunlight. Before we know it, summer will be here, and now would be a great time to once again talk about the amount of sunlight that our succulents can only handle. Hi everyone, it's Nanette of Do What You Love here in Northern California. I am enjoying the beautiful day here in our backyard. I was admiring my succulents and I thought to myself, it is so true that spring brings a breath of fresh air. And speaking of springs, in my last video, I talked about my succulent arrangements that I created for spring. I also touched on my creation process. So if you're new to my channel and you're passionate about succulents, maybe you can consider subscribing, and while at it, hit that notification bell so you can be informed every time I release my video, which typically once a week. So if you remember, I mentioned earlier that I live in Northern California. With the temperature that we have here in California, I prefer to just collect soft succulents. The common type of soft succulents include echeveria, crassula, jade, kalanchoe, aloe, tender sedums, and senecio. Soft succulents can only handle temperature between 55 degrees and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. They also do best in areas with filtered sunlight. Even though we know that succulents can handle full sunlight, let us not forget that they can also get sunburn, especially during the afternoon when the temperatures are highest. I remember it happened a lot to my aeoniums, and this was when I was just first starting. Therefore, I definitely not recommend exposing your succulents to full sun in temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit so we can avoid doing damage to them. As you can see, I have succulents that are planted in a pot and succulents planted in the ground. Succulents that are in the ground naturally stay cooler because the ground doesn't heat up as quickly as pottery. Succulents generally love light and they need about 6 hours of sun per day. I get asked this question all the time. How about the newly planted succulents? Newly planted succulents can burn really easy, and therefore you have to gradually introduce them to full sun exposure or provide them some type of shade. The way it works for me, I start them with the morning sun because it is not so intense. This pot right here is a grouping of soft succulents. This is Aeonium kiwi, Crassula perforata. This is a sedum, Senecio serpens, and the tall one is a Crassula. Look how healthy, they're thriving, and they just want to be with each other. Some of you probably know this already, that most of the soft succulents can be planted in a pot and they can also be brought indoors. All my succulents are outdoor because I love having them in our backyard, and our backyard is the east side of our house, and therefore this is where the sun rises, so it gets the right amount of sunlight. I will walk you to the other side later and show you the two kinds of aeoniums. One is actually a little bit in the shaded part and one is exposed to the sun. You will be surprised that they actually have different look, different appearance in terms of color, and that is because of the amount of sunlight that they get on a daily basis. This may surprise you, but these two plants are the same. They are called Aeonium black rose. But now you're probably wondering, how come the other one is red and the other is green? This is because this one right here gets more sunlight than the other one. So this is more stressed than this one. Yes, I just said the word stressed, and in the world of succulents, Stress is a good thing. When succulents are stressed, that's when they have their colors, they're so lushy and vibrant. So once again, stress in the world of succulents is a great thing. Here are some more ioniums that I have, and they are very vibrant. Let's shift gear and talk a little bit about watering. Right off the bat, I will tell you that overwatering your succulents is not a great thing. But this doesn't mean that you have to neglect them completely. You just have to know when to water them. I wish I knew about the soak and dry method right from the very beginning, because if I did, I would have not killed a lot of my succulents when I was just starting. I'm sure you know this already. Succulents provide their own water. They don't like to get too much moisture. So if you cannot let them dry out entirely for too long, they will not last. And this is the very reason why the soak and dry method works for most people. The way I do it is this. If I'm watering my succulents in the ground, I water them until I feel that the soil is completely drenched. And if we are talking about my succulents in pots, I would like to make sure that the water drips out of the drainage hole. Then I will wait for about a week until the soil is completely dried out and water them again. I can't stress enough how much this method works for me and my succulents 1,000%. I will not talk about this topic in depth because it requires a separate video. If you're just starting to collect or plant succulents, my biggest recommendation for you is to look for videos about proper watering, the right soil for them, and most importantly, the right amount of sunlight that our succulents require. That's all I got for you today, and thank you again for joining me. I hope to see you in my next video. Once again, if this is the type of content that you enjoy, consider subscribing, and while at it, hit that notification bell so that you can be informed every time I launch my video. My next video is supposedly for next week. I will be interviewing Sabrina of Succulent Obsessions. She is a grower, she has her own nursery, and she has a beautiful backyard. So I can't wait to share with you, or I can't wait for her to share with us how she takes care and maintain her succulents to be as vibrant as they are right now. Thank you, and remember to always do what you love. Until next time.